Well, for more, let's turn to Sol Iglesias, Assistant Professor of Political Science at the University of the Philippines. Thank you for speaking with us at this, what is a late hour for you. First question for you. I'm old enough to remember the Marcos dictatorship. Have many Filipinos forgotten it?
Of today's voters, or the voters on Monday, will be in the age group 18 to 24. So 1/5 of them would never have experienced martial law. And unfortunately, the Philippine education system hasn't done quite a good job of really educating people on what had happened. So, there is quite a sizable group of people who haven't forgotten, they just haven't even experienced it.
Haven't experienced it, and is the son the same as the father?
Well, the son has certainly not demonstrated any sort of democratic, strong democratic orientation, particularly in this campaign. He has refused to go on platforms with the other contenders for the position. This is a strategy that both he and his running mate, the daughter of the current president, Sara Duterte, they have avoided debating their competitors on meaningful platforms. They've avoided speaking to the media. In fact, the media have found it extremely difficult to interview President Marcos unless it's only about softball questions, and certainly none of the tough questions about his father's legacy, ill-gotten wealth, taxes, and those kinds of things.
A 30-point lead. How do you explain it?
Well, one of the remarkable developments over the past 6 years has really been the use of social media for political campaigns. We already saw this in 2016, and it did contribute to the victory of incumbent President Rodrigo Duterte. But in the past 6 years, and certainly during this election, there's been a lot of targeted misinformation and historical revisionism that has really benefited the Marcos campaign, painting the martial law years as some sort of golden age, And as I said, 1/5 of the voters are very young. And more so, Filipino voters seem to be quite, according to studies by my own university included, voters in general seem to be quite susceptible to what they consume online, including misinformation and fake news. And so, this sort of targeted manipulation of voter preferences and attitudes and information has been exacerbated by the use of targeted online media campaigning.
And what are the social media giants doing about misinformation?
Well, there have been some attempts at content moderation and that sort of thing. But by and large, and you may recall when Maria Ressa received the Nobel Peace Prize, or was co-recipient for it, this is one of the critical points that she made during her acceptance speech, that it's not enough what social media groups are doing, and in particular because it's not effective at getting at the groups behind the targeted campaigns.
If you look at Lenny Robredo, how much of an own goal is it that there was not a united opposition in this case?
Well, actually, it doesn't, I think, make too much of a difference. The closest competitor would have been Manila Mayor Isko Moreno, because initially it seemed that the two of them could have shared a support base. But as soon as she, very quickly after she announced her candidacy, he started training his sights instead on Marcos Jr., who was really already starting to become the clear front runner around that time, especially when Miss Duterte decided to be his running mate rather than compete against him. So as soon as that happened, the closest candidate to Ms. Robredo's campaign, he basically alienated her base. So the other candidates as well, boxing champion Manny Pacquiao, they don't really appeal to the sort of liberal democratic, progressive groups that have coalesced around the Robredo campaign, actually from both the left and the right.
One final brief question for you. I've seen academics say this is the most significant presidential election in the Philippines since Marcos's father was reelected in 1969. Is that an overstatement?
No, not at all. Well, it depends on which election you also compare to. You can compare it to the snap election in 1986 that resulted in the downfall of the elder Mr. Marcos and the ushering in of democratic reform and Corazon Aquino into the presidential palace. So this election occurs 6 years after a backsliding towards authoritarian rule under President Rodrigo Duterte. You know, he waged a so-called war on drugs that the International Criminal Court is currently investigating as a possible crime against humanity, considering that they find credible a death toll of between 12,000 and 30,000 people killed in extrajudicial murders. And so, and plus with President Duterte's dismantling of or attacking of independent institutions, attacking of the independence of the legislature, and
fears of a slide towards authoritarianism. I want to thank you so much, Sol Iglesias, for joining us from the University of the Philippines.
Okay, thank you so much.